The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature gameplay trailer just dropped, and is it looking more like a substantial expansion pack, or is it just more of the same? Now, I'm gonna say right off the bat, I was not a fan of the narration. Sims always does narrators for all these trailers, and I tend to not like them too much. However, the narrator was Mother Nature. Now, Mother Nature being the narrator, I am curious to see what kind of role Mother Nature will play in this pack as an NPC. However, that aside, I saw a lot of the same themes we already saw in past promos. All this is about balance and living out in nature, establishing a peaceful life outdoors, or of course exploring enchantment via fairies. The first thing they focused on was plants and gardening, especially taking care of and watering. You can also of course have plants die on you, which is very relatable to me. There's also enchanted plants, and I will say this is a good plus. Enchanted plants can actually attract pixies, and they might have some other magical abilities too. Of course, you can talk to houseplants and just have a room full of houseplants. For players who are a fan of plants in general, I guess we are getting a nice collection. It will be interesting to see them in full. However, moving on to another focus, which I know a lot of people are curious about, which is the fairies. I do have some good news. It does appear they do have a skill tree, which we're going to look at a little bit more closely in just a moment. It does show us a process. It appears you might plant something in order to summon a fairy, and there is a transformation process. Granted, the transformation process doesn't seem very challenging, but I do need some details. They did also show us some wing customization, but honestly, we already covered this content in the cast trailer. One aspect they really mentioned a lot about fairies is fairies are very emotion driven. They literally live off emotions. On one hand, I think this is an interesting concept. On the other hand, it's Sims 4 emotions, and this does concern me a little bit. Basically, you need emotions. You can absorb emotions from other Sims. You can also create potions too. There are some pretty cool animations here. You can shrink down. It is not just an animation in the trailer. They even showed fairies woohooing, and they also showed fairies in a dollhouse. Being able to shrink down, I think could have lots of possibilities, but they didn't really mention any benefits beyond just the appearance. For example, if you shrink down, could you scare other Sims? Could you hide something? Or could you even spy on other Sims? Now, while as fairies you can certainly help out other Sims, they did focus on making things a little crazier. For example, you can age up Sims, you can bring gnomes to life, and you can mess with other Sims' emotions. Again, this is not all you can do. I will say these are somewhat okay features. I really would love if they went just a little bit darker. So if you have no interest in fairies, the nature nomad consists of sleeping outside, basically bathing outside, and also working on natural living skills to make life easier. And this does tie into rags to riches, but as some people have pointed out, actually natural living could make rags to riches not much of a challenge whatsoever. Again, of course, though, we do have to wait and see to see the full details of this. Another component of this expansion pack is luck. Now, something I have noticed about expansion packs is they like to give us new systems and new UI. And with luck, it's all about balance. As I've talked to previously, I do think balance again is an interesting concept, but it's something we have covered in many Sims packs in the past. And the irony is, sometimes I think the balance is slated too much one way or the other. But nonetheless, if you get out of balance, you might pick up an ailment. And of course, there's a new ability to create potions for ailments and cures. You can even make a career out of it, visiting households and determining the wellness path. They talked about a wellness plan, and this actually reminded me of a stuff pack idea that was tanked before. It's kind of interesting. I could see some people having a lot of fun with this, and I do think there should be pack integration with packs like Realm of Magic and Cottage Living at very least. There's also magical plants that can also influence luck, and there's something called a lightning root. Now, this covers the main content of the trailer, but I want to go a little bit slower and tell you what details I noticed, and of course, my overall feelings about this pack. So first of all, I still think they could have done a little bit more with Build Buy, but I definitely don't mind it. This house looks really interesting, and I love that they collabed with creators to make builds in general. I just tend to think that builds do tend out to turn better when they go to creators. That aside, again, I think we could have gone even far into the theme, but of course my ideas were more for a fairies game pack or alternatively an expansion pack with all kinds of mythology. So I just had a different vision overall than the Sims team did, and that's neither here nor there. Some comments I got in the past videos, especially the build buy one, was talking about how this leaned more into more costumey, and of course the wallpaper also looks very childish. In some ways, I think this could be a lot of fun for children's rooms, and so I don't mind that content, but I do wish we could have gotten a little bit of a more mature vibe for the fantastical elements too. That aside, I think that the room with plants does look kind of interesting. I could see some people running a business from this, or again, it's some kind of other challenge, but like I said, I'm just not seeing this as totally new content. The addition of magical plants is definitely a good addition, but the question is this bringing enough truly new content if you do own other Sims packs? Also, I'm curious right here to see if pixies are going to do anything specific. Are pixies just going to be a minor distraction, or could they actually wreak havoc in your household? There is a general board where potentially you can pick up gigs and also maybe learn about events. This is a theme they have repeated in many packs. While I do think it works generally speaking, I'm just asking them to branch out a little bit more. Again, I can say it fits the theme, and if you don't own some of these other packs, maybe it is valuable. But I think they could have pushed this a little bit more and given us more of a reason to explore this new world. I know this was a weird time to pause this, but this appears to be where you are planting this magical flower that does summon a fairy. I am curious what fairy stories means, and of course from here it appears you are taking some kind of potion to transform. Again, I hope we have to actually work for this. Personally, I would have loved if you had to wander into a magical forest somehow and found something. I would have loved if there isn't one, a hidden part of the world. This actually reminds me quite a bit of Life and Death, wandering out and having that transformation. Again, I like the concept in isolation. I'm just questioning, is this really new content? Is it transformative? And is it compelling me to play it? I am happy to report that fairies do look like they have some nuance to them. Personally, this was the best part of the entire trailer, and something I was really hoping they would include. As we can see here, there's a path of manipulation. There's also a path about emotions, something inspired by nature, and also something about customization. These are major details we don't know about yet, at least from this trailer. And so for that reason, I cannot conclude if fairies are going to be worth playing. It does, however, look like fairies got better treatment than really old occults, and for this reason, I am very pleased with this. Also, if you pause right here, you can see a couple other interactions. You can see that fairies can help with gardening, you can see they can help with repairs and upgrades, and of course, bringing gnomes to life. All in all, it does look like fairies have some interesting things to explore. Interestingly enough, I see a lot of parallels with how they did fairies with how they treated ghosts in Life and Death. That isn't necessarily bad. I think Life and Death is a good expansion pack. However, again, I just think they could have gone a more creative route with different content. Also, if we look at the natural living aspects, the natural living aspects just don't really stand out to me. A lot of these actions are actions you can do with other packs and even the base game. If you want a good video breakdown of this, definitely check out the video I am linking below, because it does explore how much of this pack is rehashing concepts we have gotten with other packs. Of course, there are some caveats. Number one, not everyone owns every Sims 4 pack. I sure don't. Number two, some people might want it to enhance the content they have. And of course, third, we do not have fairies. I'm not saying the pack is going to be worthless whatsoever. To me, the highlights would be the magical plants, some of the animations with fairies, and some of the abilities. And honestly, that's pretty much what I think. And I am curious to see that more in the live stream. I think that is going to be so important, again, for determining what this pack is about. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. I'm sorry this was a little bit critical, but I always aim to be honest. As always, please take care, and I'll see you in the next video.